Architecture is a very difficult profession. In fact, world over, even in India, the COA, Council of Architecture, has laid down rules which are extremely difficult to even pass through.
So does Vastu play a big role here? Because a lot of people nowadays are realizing the importance of it. It's like an age-old practice.
To be frank, you don't have to follow any Vastu.
Right now, it's all about show off. It's all about Instagrammable.
Now, are we talking about some rich, elite, few people who want to just brand themselves as eco-friendly people?
A lot of financial advisors, they tell that renting houses better in the long run. It'll be much cheaper for you.
I would say that affordable luxury, anything that's luxurious is not affordable. To make it affordable, you have to leave it to the scientists.
So as an architect, do you feel threatened by AI?
So what if I feel threatened? So what if architects feel threatened? Or so what if singers feel threatened?
For our first episode today, we have Kamal Kamaraju with us. As most of you already know him, he's a Tollywood actor, but apart from being a great actor, he's also a great architect. So today, we're going to learn everything about architecture, the future, the past, the present, AI, Vastu, and the topics go on and on. So if you are interested in this, let's dive right into it. So to start off with, let's address the most basic question. What is the difference between an architect and an interior designer? A lot of people get confused here, so I would like to hear it from you.
Yeah, it seems basic, but more runs into the how we manifest a space.
Okay.
So it also is linked to the clients. Architecture basically deals with an open canvas and trying to now create partitions or build spaces, protecting it from the natural elements. Whereas interiors, to answer it very, very simply, so interiors does not deal with the natural elements, but it deals with the inner spaces and its effects on the people who are residing in it. Right. So natural elements comes to sun, the light, how do you see the sky? What are the elements that you can to protect from? That is, barricades or the rivers that are nearby. Then where do we see? Which direction do we see? And how do we protect ourselves from any harsh climatic weather conditions? Whereas interiors basically helps us enhance the space, irrespective of what the architecture is. So it's very interesting. Both go hand in hand.
Yeah.
At the same time, both have a very diverse and individual personality to each other.
Yeah. A lot of times, if like in my circle, if I call an architect interior designer, they get offended very easily. The same goes otherwise.
That's an identity crisis. See, what happens is, in general, what architects or interior designers in India face is that they're not being respected outside. Right now, there is a change in that kind of how we look at architects and interior designers. But usually, people are expected to be engineers or doctors, or if you're creative, they say, "Are you an artist, like a painter or a dancer or an actor?" But then, if you're selling you're an architect, then what is architecture for them? Like we do buildings, and they say, "Oh, but isn't the engineer doing it?" I said, "No, engineer does that, but we actually tell how the building has to be placed." So they think it's more like a doctor and a physiotherapist. So it's more like that. So people get confused. So there is identity crisis because world over, architecture is the father of all arts, and it basically defines how a society should move forward. But whereas it comes to India, everyone tries to eat that space, saying that, I also do. Most of the time, even administrators do that. Right. Most of the, public servant administrators, they take the architect's job. They say that even I've done in my...
I'm capable to do this
I'm capable of that. So that, due to that identity crisis, what happens, I tell that to a lot of students and architecture friends also, don't get so offended because even a contractor is today calling himself an architect.
Right.
Because no one is checking degrees, no one is checking anything. But if you are an architect, you will speak like an architect. You will actually understand the problem much more deeper because you're trained to do that.
So do you actually need a degree to get started with architecture? A lot of builders just start if they have people around them who have a little bit of knowledge about building.
Of
So
course.
for architecture, is it the same way?
Yeah, of course. Architecture is a very difficult profession.
Okay.
In fact, world over, even in India, the COA, Council of Architecture, has laid down rules which are extremely difficult to even pass through. Like in Australia, or even in the American, in the States, or New Zealand, anywhere, you need to pass multiple levels of exams, and also need to work a certain number of years before you even given a license. Whereas in India, you are given a license just after you pass your degree. Why they do that is because if, just one small wrong construction can lead to something that's irreparable, like something that cannot be changed for years to come. So that's the reason why it's degree is important, and it needs to be much more strict. In a country where the licenses for driving are being given without even testing their driving skills, it's a long, very tough ask to make the administrators to make architecture actually a strict profession.
Wow, great. So now, being an architect, Hyderabad holds a lot of history and heritage.
Yes.
And modern architecture is completely different from the history that we have. So as an architect, how do you find balance while designing for someone? How do you find balance between these two?
We really don't need to find a balance between anything. Architecture in general has been created so that we create a space which is convenient, which is to an extent expresses the attitude of the person who's residing in it, and also helps them not spend too much time on the building. Like, if your maintenance is too high, you wouldn't want to do that. Like, for example, we used to have the old button the interface thing. So when they removed the buttons, why did they remove it? They didn't remove it for our fun. Actually, people just assume that it's for fun. Oh, that it looks nice, the digital pad. No, because the buttons, you get to, we eat something pours into it. People at construction sites, people at different sites, so the dust gets into it, the motherboards get spoiled. So they wanted a sealed envelope for a phone. Similarly, so people have moved from that to now the new modern cellular phones, right? Mobile devices that we use every day. Even your watches, if I see, they don't have buttons which will help the dust seep in, or the water to seep in. They're waterproof. Similarly, architecture has also moved a long way. It has already been developed. And if you look at traditional architecture, what you call today as the modern architecture will become traditional over a period of 100 years. Because they'll say, what, back then the windows used to be like this. That's why you used to do that. What, the water used to be pumped from the top. Now we have pressure pumps which are fully pumping water from down. So we don't use overhead water tanks. So there's so many changes that keep coming. So there's a little issue when people say, misunderstanding when people say that, how do we balance between traditional and contemporary? There's nothing like that actually. Okay. There are old set of rules, old set of elements on which we used to design. There are new set of elements on which we design. Now, what kind of elements are you using? Are we using them for? And then we try to then create an understanding. Like if I find an old door which is looking nice, I will think of it that, should we use it for our bedroom? Maybe not, because that will create a small kind of gaps through which the dust might come in, insects might come in, or even the AC might leak. Today, everyone needs air conditioning, so the AC might leak. So how do we now then not use that door then? Then where can we use it? We use it in the landscape or in open courtyards where there is not requirement of that of air conditioning. So it is basically our understanding of what elements to use, and then we use it very judiciously, and then people do desire a certain look for the house. That's where the interiors comes. And people might say, what, I want my bedroom to look like my Nainamma's bedroom. Go ahead and do it. There's nothing called a marriage now. And there's basically saying that I want a certain look. That is more to do with your fashion rather than the usability of this place. So yeah, so because as architects we do study even how the buildings were made in the past, and now how the new modern technology and the elements have been used. We know what to use where. So that's how we.
Does Vastu play a big role here? Because a lot of people nowadays are realizing the importance of it. It's like an age-old practice.
Yeah.
And everyone wants Vastu.
Yeah.
Their house to be Vastu compliant. So as an architect, how do you find that balance? Or do you think architects shouldn't consider that at all? Or do you think we should go with that, but probably a mix of both, modern and Vastu?
To be frank, you don't have to follow any Vastu. There is only one Vastu, that is you have to follow the basics of light, ventilation, proper climatic weather conditions, and make sure that your building survives these kind of parameters. Today in India, if you drive down any major cities, any major towns, any major, even just go outside Hyderabad or any major city, you just get outside into the thing, you will find horrendous buildings. Like, people do not have any sense of aesthetics, do not have any sense of climatic or weather situations that they follow. It is not because they have not been taught. They are blindfolded by a term called Vastu, which they don't have any idea about, and everyone starts to influence it. When any irrational such follow-up happens in any society, then you lose track of what is reality. So that is what is happening now, and that's why India in general is suffering with bad architecture, because of this external pressure of saying that you need to do a certain thing without giving a thought to it. I am saying so you do it. It's more a patriarchal thing. That someone, it's more to do with the I'm not saying you have to be woke. In today's generation, a woke generation, you have to understand that you need to understand that why this person is saying. Is he saying by understanding the real substance of what light, ventilation, or science behind it, or is he just saying it because he's just saying I'm just saying it, so just do it. So many times I do advise my clients and make sure that they do follow a certain method when they're understanding why they're supposed to put an entrance a certain direction, or kitchen in a certain direction. Usually they themselves know the answer, and I always say that when you knew the answer, why are you consulting others? Because they always know that they want to stand in a certain direction, and they love standing in the direction and enjoy the sun or this thing. That's very as basic as it is. And architects do study 5 years of climatology, weather, acoustics, sound design, everything. And they put all that thoughts, and also how the water actually retains in a certain land. There is a slope in one side, there's topography, we study all that. And then we come to a proper understanding of how the building has to be done. So studying all that, and then they come to a conclusion. When people just say that, okay, all this is trash, what you even think of or study all that, but what we say is that let's have the slope on a certain direction because someone said it. So that's actually harming the entire Indian architecture community. They are fighting. We are all people don't speak about it. People like me do try to speak about it and voice it out, so that at least the next generation, they don't suffer it. It's similar to movies, how we see technology and how movies are made with a certain way. A very learned, well-educated movie maker will come back and say that, no, we don't have to spend so much. We can actually do it in a certain budget, and we can really create some wonders. So we're just flushing out the old thoughts and trying to move into the new thoughts. Yeah.
So you're saying science behind Vastu is important, not Vastu as such.
There is a word, there is a term that's used for Vastu. If you're saying science behind Vastu, there is nothing called science behind Vastu. There is only science.
Okay.
There is no science behind Vastu. There is no science behind you, right? Like there is a human being, and then how do you function is science. So there is a building, and how does it function? There is science behind understanding how does it function properly. So you want to name it X, or you want to name it Y, or you want to just say it Vastu. People like me wouldn't care. We are only bothered about what is good architecture and what makes the building function properly.
So in this era of sustainable living, like I spoke with a lot of architects.
Okay.
There's a lot of bias between, let's say, if I use eco-friendly material, the cost of construction will go high, especially in luxury residents. So how do you tackle this? Like, do you go for eco-friendly, or do you go for the ones that cost you low to finish the project?
Um, to answer that, I have to understand who the client is.
Okay.
Like an architect will have 10 different clients, 10
Let's
different.
assume a luxury. You're working for a luxury brand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, the client actually will define whether I will need a certain material or not. If I use a certain material, it might actually cost a lot. Now, using it for a style statement is always then it's always going to be expensive. So if you're talking about any raw material, any raw material that is difficult to be carried, let's say we are talking about apartments or are we talking about residences? Because in residences, apartments, you can't use eco-friendly materials because try to build a 100-storied or a 90 floored apartment with eco-friendly natural materials. There is no material that's made like that.
Okay.
You will have cracks tomorrow. You will have to deal with plastering. You'll have to deal with weathering. Now, are we talking about some rich elite few people who want to just brand themselves as eco-friendly people? There itself, the answer goes that it is an expensive material because you think that that has to be told. I actually think that materials are not divided like that. Materials are more divided about, are they finding a solution for a particular region for housing, for a country like India, for a backward country like India, where the housing is even today there are more than crores of people who are homeless. They don't have homes, and they can't afford a home. Forget about even renting becomes difficult for them. So owning a house is so difficult that we need to find a solution where they have a house right now. And to build fast, to be able to produce much faster raw materials which are supposed to be transported very far away distances and to be spread across large pieces of land. Again, I'm terming it very opinionated on based in India, because India is has a shortage of land. People don't have so much money to buy more land. So how do you now help them find housing? It's only by stacking one above the other. Whereas if you go to a country which is maybe it has a vast piece of land, they might look at this solution differently. So comparing probably someone who's doing a Norwegian house who has probably more land than the population there, they might think of saying that let's do something in eco-friendly and things like that. But what about India, where right now we did not find any solution for many of the people who are residing right now?
Land crisis is a real problem.
Land and population. And we don't have resources where we can actually survive them with the employment. They don't have resources for money. So now we're talking about saying that no, you buy a land, you build a house, and you build with a certain material. It's not going to happen. And then ask them to pay for the maintenance. So this is the crisis. So nobody has found a solution. Everyone is trying to find a solution, which is a good thing. And I think we should appreciate everyone who's trying to find a solution. They're still trying to find a solution where they're still saying, can we use mud? I'm like, yeah, they're still trying, so that's the goodness in them. The practicality of it is what we are all trying to understand, that how do we now, collaborate?
Since we're on cost cutting, what do you think about smart homes integrated with a lot of technology? And when we talk about smart homes, there's a lot of privacy concerns that come with it, right? So as an architect, what is your take on that? Do you think homes should be smarter day by day, or should they just remain to the natural aspect?
They have to be smarter. Going way forward, everything that we do right now, including the podcast that we're doing, or the way it's been that's going to be aired tomorrow, it's all AI driven. Most of the editing today is AI driven. Right. Many of the editing patterns today, they don't need time right now. We just have to select a certain pattern and just click on it. Everything is edited because it's all time driven. Similarly, how we control lights, how much of time we can spend at home, and quality time. It's not about just time. So back in when we were kids, our parents used to come back from office. They used to spend time with us all through the day. They don't have anything else to do. Today's homes don't have that. The parents are working overtime. During the night, they have calls. They have a lot of things.
Yeah.
So we need assistance so that we, whatever time we get, we need more quality time. So I personally think that like the way they say, automation is one part of it, but AI is going to be the next way in which how residences or homes will be done. Even the corporate offices and things like that, including, even if you see the elevators today, corporate offices, huge buildings, they don't have elevators where someone is going to press a button. I remember my mom working in Markford. She was a state government employee. We used to press a button, and we used to wait for a certain lift and just wait for it. Today, the elevator, it's not given to the person who's, they just have to press which floor they have to go. The elevator or the AI decides which lift will come for that particular floor. So there's no confusion for it. You just have to press which floor you have to go. So that's it. That's been pressed. So it's coming in every form and pattern, and it's going to be much bigger as we move forward. Tomorrow, I'm assuming that all the parcels that are getting delivered will be done not but done through humans. It will be done through robots, through AI, through drones. Drones is one of it. We don't know which other things will come. So when that is happening, then does your home have that kind of a facility where something can be dropped? Or now today the AI, the drone will come at the security gate and it doesn't know where to go, because now it has to go and drop at your door. The drone will not be able to do it.
So your home should be capable.
Yeah. So there's so many things. Even I am trying to figure out how to do that. Yeah.
Okay. On the contrary, on the flip side, I think that humans are becoming lazy with just technology being integrated even for small things at home. Let's say I just want to turn off the fan. All I can do is this, and then the fan gets turned off. I can do that and the lights get turned on.
Correct.
So I think, I don't know, I want your, as an architect, I want your take on this. We're becoming more lazy as we are integrating technology, even ghar pe, where we're supposed to, at least be a little active. So what is your take on that?
Interesting question. And I think what we need to understand is to just go deep into what we actually are as humans. Earlier food we wanted to eat. Let's say we have to. So back in the primitive days, people used to go for hunting. So what they used to do, they used to be given a tilakam, given a dagger. The main person who leads the entire tradition of hunting will be taking the front. They actually given a certain position in hunting. Then they go for a certain area. They go for almost days sometimes to make sure that there is enough feed for the entire community. Today, how do we eat food? We just order food online and we do that. What was that guy missing? He was missing staying with his family. He was missing staying safe, going in the forest during night time, trying to hunt. There could be another thing. So the safety of the people was at risk. That there was a risk of that. And always a dilemma whether you'll get the food that time or not. So what is the difference now? We found a solution to make sure that our lives are safe, our lives are more quality driven. So that's where it comes. So the quality. Why do you have to get up to switch on the fan? I don't understand. These are all redundant things which we thought that they are important. They are not important, by the way.
I think with time, the activities are also going down. Agree to the point that we're getting quality time to spend with our family or our loved ones.
So it is dependent upon. So sorry to interrupt you, but to finish that, I'm saying it's dependent upon what you need. So when you have more time. So I have been asked this a few times recently also. And they asked me, how do you do films? How do you do architecture? And architecture with such diverse portfolio. And I'd also do art across the globe. Then how do you find? I said, and they said that, what are you doing and all that? And how do you find time? I said, if you're finding more time, it means that you have now more time that you can actually spend with your kid. You can actually go spend time taking them for probably sports, probably spend time with your family, your mother, take care of their health, travel with them, enjoy the time rather than just sitting and thinking that, oh, where is the light? What do we do? Instead of that, be somewhere at a click of a button. You can actually make sure that that's off. So I think it is helping us and to build more quality time. And this is all. Every generation has an older generation which talks about this. So my parents used to talk about that when we got the TV, when we got the refrigerator, when we got this. They're like, earlier, so go ahead and do it. Will you do it? No. So because that is there now, they can now lock all the food in the refrigerator so that the kids don't go starve while they go for work. They can just cook the food and keep it. So these are things which we have devised so that the human actually lives in a much more quality life. So architecture should embrace it and people should embrace it, and they are embracing. It's only people who are, we should try to understand what will happen if you do that, and that's what we tell them that, so you're having more 2 hours of time now. So it's your decision whether you want to watch reels or you want to go fly a kite or play with your kid, and things like that.
Interesting take. So some argue that architectural designs prioritize aesthetics more than functionality. How would you like to defend that as an architect?
No, aesthetics is part of the function. So there's no difference actually. If you talk about the functionality, aesthetics is part of the function. Let's say when I open the door, and just recently I was doing some design, and we were trying to just make sure that the material gets cut. But then we understood that if the line of the door line, the lintel, and does not match the other door that we are thinking of getting it down, it spoils the whole rhythm of the thing. So they were talking of aesthetics. It's also function, which is part of the whole activity as an architect or designer that we're doing. So that's well and said. Aesthetics is part of it. What you might want to rephrase it, that question is do we have to spend on things which are unnecessary? Just calling it, saying it using the term called aesthetics or things like that.
Even the term aesthetics, the definition of it is changing. So if you talk about the literal meaning, probably it might have the aspect of functionality attached to that as well, like you said.
Yeah.
Right now it's all about show off, it's all about Instagrammable houses and all that. So doesn't add any value to that.
Again, I have an interesting take on it. It's a subject that I keep thinking about, and like I said, people find their function. So when people look at Instagrammable, let's say a place or a location or things like that, probably they're building their followers. Probably they're earning money through it. Probably today, through such spaces, they are able to call their friends and able to create more visibility in the world, which is not able to create, fighting for a space. Like today, we're creating this podcast. How do we now make this reach more people? It is such difficult with so much content available. So today, the content has now gone away from people who are in the media to people who are normal, ordinary, day-to-day, office going or working class. So they also want to create some content. They also want to tell about certain things. Let's say they talk about gardening. They talk about how to take care of baby, and they're creating their own set of audience and a stream. And then they look for some Instagrammable space. This is a new requirement. The older generation does not understand this. Like one of my senior professors, he was telling me that he doesn't follow, he doesn't like Instagram reels and things like that. And I'm saying, but we need to understand that it is very important that we follow that and try to understand how the new generation is trying to tackle the problems through that. So, yeah.
Being an architect in Hyderabad, so what is the most challenging or the most memorable project that you worked on? Can you share that experience with us?
We're constantly working on multiple projects which are of diverse portfolio. So one thing that I did very personally attached to it is, and which really was close to many people who follow my work, is Alaya. That is a small space that I've designed for my farmland. I've used the stone which is available at the land, and tried to create a space which does not use much of steel. There were no columns in it, and we had a span which needed about 22 feet or something. For that kind of span, we will need columns and steel and beams and things like that. But what I kind of devised is I tapered the building to the back and created a more functional space. I tried to create a divide between separate the spaces between what uses functions that have the higher the height, that part of it we used it for living and the kitchen, etc. Whereas the lower parts we've created where the person doesn't have to really reach that end. So we kind of tapered it and sloped it so that we don't use much of steel there. It had its own challenges, but it was fun doing that. That also is very special and memorable because it's again part of my family and they are enjoying it. But it also opened up people to understand, also me to push people to not use much steel. As beyond after COVID, there were a lot of exposure towards using their land, empty pieces of land, to make some kind of a built spaces. So we started doing a lot of farmhouses, and I always tell, whenever people build farmhouses, I tell them, when you are building farmhouse, there is a certain reason why you're doing that, right? And then why do you then want to use more steel and make it look like an urban house? So why can we use less of steel there, make it more ecologically more friendly?
Does less steel mean
less cost,
durable?
less cost.
Less cost.
No, not need not be, not it need not be less durable. It's more to do with later any additions or any subtractions can be done with ease. It's a very big longer question, but I would probably little more elaborate on this.
Make or break it easy.
Yes, but it doesn't end just there. It's little more elaborate. I would want to make this question and answer it more elaborately. The point that I'm trying to make is, if you do a frame structure, it's more a market driven thing. So in villages, even in Hyderabad, it's very difficult to find centering people and masons who wait for you that you finish certain work. They want to come, do their job, and take the money and go. So this is a labor-centric driven thing. So what I have understood. So, but whereas in load bearing, when you use less of steel and less of this thing, that chapter is now closed. So they are only called for the slab or the beams. What they understand of that thing that we now talk about is they're already used for taking money, making those pillars, columns, beams, and taking money and go. But now they have to wait for now, probably if we do a PCC bed, they'll have to come there. Then they have to, probably when we're doing a load bearing structure, they have to wait for the brick to be done and then the beams. So they get lesser money. So they start creating these issues of, can we do, column frame structure? And as the column frame structures are done, the brickwork masons can then start their work. So that doesn't happen if you're just doing load bearing, because only the brickwork guys are doing it. And then the steel guys will come. The brick guys then are idle. So this is a more, how do we manipulate, how do we manage the workers? It comes from there. So it's a little longer question actually. How do we understand usage of steel or not usage of steel?
Interesting.
It's more an architect's take. This is a more deeper question. Yeah.
Great. So now coming to, since we already spoke about, we are on this topic. What do you think is better, high-rise buildings or low-rise buildings? I would like to add one more thing. In terms of safety and in terms of cost, in terms of everything, it should be a win-win for everyone. So in that way, what do you think is better?
Like I already answered in your previous question, it is a little extension of that question, that we don't have much land and we don't have housing solutions that are provided. In such a case, how do we reduce? And also one small, I'll add to that one question so that you know the answer. That what I would say is, when let's say there are 100 people and there's 100 acres, each person is now allowed to build 100 houses on those 100 acres. Now these people now extend their houses, they build their houses and extend the entire 100 acres All the trees there are being now removed so that the houses are built for them, roads are done for them, and things like that. Now there is another set of thought. This is what we're talking about. There's a set of thought which says there is 100 acres, 100 people, you can build in 1 acre. Now what happens? You're doing road for in that 1 acre. You're doing housing, plumbing, everything in that 1 acre. Remaining 99 acres is left open for birds, for trees, for environment, for greenery. Now you choose. It's as simple. So people, do we want people to spread so much and damage the ecology? Or today, if there is technology, use it and make sure that we damage less of it. This is as simple as it. Today, earlier there were no elevators, there were no perambulators, there were no car parking was done in a different way. Today, there is so much that people can actually utilize and make sure that they don't damage their ecology. Now, some rich people who have a lot of money, they don't want everyone together in one dense community. They will prefer and say that I want to live in a vast land with with my house and rest of it trees. That's their choice, and you need to now then you go into the luxury segment then, that you then choose that I don't want so much of dense population, and I will have trees. But I would say that use less of land, make use of the high rise so that people are blocked in a lesser and dense them together. Make provisions for them. Make sure if you say that the water problem will be there, the drainage problem will be there, things like that. Work on it. Create more pipelines. Create more refineries. That's again where the technology should be used. So,
do you think GDP has something to do with this growing aspirational factor of Indians? Everybody wants to live life large now. They want extra bedroom. They want extra few square feet. They want everything a little bit extra. So do you think our growing GDP from the last 5 years, if you have a look, we are exponentially growing. So do you think that is adding more income to people, more aspirations, or?
I don't think so. Are we really becoming richer? Because I think country's entire 30%, 70% of the entire economy is, I think, coming from, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's coming from, I think, 1% of something of the entire population. So the rest of and in that 1%, almost in that 1% itself, the higher 1% is also again very small, meager people of who are actually earning the entire economy for the country. Rest of them are all poor. We are a poor country. We are not able to generate more income for most of the people. Rest of the people, and the recent study, I think I read somewhere that you are called a rich and the middle class if you are earning about 25,000 a month. And I'm really surprised, because what do you do in 25,000 a month? It's very tough even to build a house or to own a play school for your children and do whatever things, small things that are very basic amenities. So we kind of make this a play of people. We want to just make others feel good and saying that the GDP is increasing, but GDP is increasing for only few people. Rest of the people are poor and they're struggling for their basic amenities. And I think there has to be more concern towards them rather than some people who are talking about growing economies for them and trying to achieve. Of course, there are people working for them anyways. So we will have to put our thoughts into creating more spaces for them. And it's becoming tougher and tougher because material is becoming scarce. We are right now not using river sand anymore. We're using dust because river sand became scarce. We should not use that because of our less of resources, natural resources. Then all these things are cropping up. So we should all thank the scientific community, engineers who are working day in and day out to make sure that we're able to do all this in a better way. So today we're using even we're using Mivan shuttering, or we're using concrete thing. Why are we doing it? We're doing it so that we don't have people go on top of some 30, 60, 70 floors and do plastering. I mean, we can't. Today there's no way we can do all this. So today we're using concrete houses, concrete usage of concrete, so that we reduce much of that kind of thing. So yeah.
So I have this question. We get this asked a lot, and it's a trending topic on Instagram as well: whether to buy or rent a house. So a
Whether
lot
to
of people,
buy or okay, that's a
financial
real estate question, but
advisors,
yeah.
yeah, like as an architect, I want your take on it.
Yeah.
A lot of financial advisors, they tell that renting house is better in the long run. It'll be much cheaper for you, and you'll have that versatility. Like if you want to move somewhere else and stay there, you can do that. Whereas if you own a house, your income, like your money is already spent on that. Now you can't move. It's either this or nothing else. So how would you like to answer that?
It's a financial question. I'm very poor at financial management. But as an architect, I would say that people should build their house. They should own their house, not for just for the economic or financial stability or things like that, but to make sure that you safeguard your thoughts and tell your next generation that this is my thought. For example, my mom and dad, they worked in a government organization with very medium income, something that will make us survive, with good amenities. For them, when they sat down, and when my mom said, I wrote it somewhere in my blog, saying that, my mom, when we were doing the house, my dad drew a small sketch of it, and and she said that, can you make this kitchen a little longer? And as a kid, I used to just keep looking at it, and she said that, and my dad said, "Endukre anta? Why do you have to do that? Maybe that we can use that space for." She said, "No, I want, when I'm making the dosa is hot, and if I come and go and give it there, it will become this thing. So I want some more space so that the dosa can be served there." It's a small thought of a mother, but they incorporated it into the house, and we have that small aisle where we sit and have this thing, built by a maestri, no architect then. But the thoughts of an individual family has been put into that. And that has to happen. We have to strive towards it, and we're all working towards that, right? We are all earning money. We are making sure that we have basic things that we have for our kids and things like that. So a house is also something that's more personal. Coming to the financial advisor, whether I would stay in a rented house for long, I may not. I will not, because it's a mental pressure for people. It's owner dependent thing. The owner can always tell you to go out of that house. They can always say that you have to pay more rent, because suddenly now, earlier there was, it used to be an open land. Now it's become a coca pit. So now you pay double the rent of what. So the people residing there are suddenly caught in the lurch, not knowing what to do. So owning a house is always good. I think personally, it relieves you from the mental stress of someone coming and getting you out of the house. And you can actually plan whether you want a fridge there. Like I said, you want dosa being served. Freedom to achieve that.
And so during COVID, the situation was like really worse. People were being asked to move out of their houses, especially people who were renting.
Okay.
Or pay higher. People weren't able to
pay because of their lack of income.
And people weren't able to find the right houses as well, because it has spiked up the rents. So in those situations, owning a house is definitely, for those situations, owning a house will definitely be beneficial.
Correct.
And what else do you think can get us into such situations? Like COVID is an exception. That's one reason to own a house.
Yeah.
Can you give me more reasons to own? Because a lot of people, they just right now, the younger generation is fixated on this. Renting is better than buying a house.
That's because they're not able to afford.
Yeah.
That's because they are not. They don't know how much to earn. They are not. They are spending the money on things which, at that point of time, creates opportunities for them, which is good. As they keep getting older, they'll understand that the house or the residence is something that they will have to plan, because your rent almost increases incremental by 10%. your salaries do not increase like that, because your other sources also keep depleting, right? And by the time you retire, you will not be having a house, and you will have to then make sure that you have so much saving that you will again keep living on rent. Whether you want to, I would say that build a little later. That solves the younger generation and how we have to think of the housing. Build a little later when you have clarity of what exactly you want. A lot of people get into this societal norm of buying or building it at a very young stage, which might help them financially, but it doesn't create a clarity of what they actually want. Building it a little later or owning it a little later will help them understand their requirements very clearly, of creating space for their parents, space for their kids, and also trying to understand what exactly do they need, rather than going for some random luxurious elements which you can actually rent it out. You can just go and stay in a rented house which is already done like that. But when you build a house, by the time you think that, okay, all this is not needed, if you do so much of wood paneling, you would actually create more termites into your house, and you'll actually create issues for health issues, where you create so much of false ceiling because of the breathing and all the air conditioning that so you say that, okay, I don't need this. So as you keep getting older, maybe you'll get more clarity of what you want in the house.
If we have a look at Mumbai 15 years, like let's talk about 2005, in Bangalore 2005, Delhi 2005, the city was entirely empty compared to what it is now. There was more space for urbanization. Now, since the entire space got occupied, there are some low-rise buildings and there are some high-rise buildings as well in the same locality.
True.
Right, but the population is ever growing.
Is increasing. Yeah.
So how do you do you demolish these low-rise houses and make them high-rise so that more people can fit in the same amount of area, or like how is this problem going to be solved? Especially Hyderabad right now, in the next 10 years, we're going to have exponential growth. So we will also get saturated after a point.
True.
So that might be a problem for us too. So as an architect, what do you think is the right solution for this? Because population is always growing, land is always scarce, and area density is again a problem.
It's more to do with a human emotional thing also linked to this, because humans do not want to let go of their houses. If you talk about someone who's built their house, let's say 40 years, 50 years back, 70 years back, unless there is a issue in the maintenance, they don't want it to be demolished. It's something to do with their emotional bond with the house. So demolishing house or building something on top of it, one, it talks about material wastage. It talks about something that we cannot, people residing there have to be emotionally be talked to and try to convince them. But as I think it's a natural process. People will decide what they want, and they will, for the better economic sense also. If let's say 4 or 5 proper plots together, they were independent houses, but they're all depleting their, the maintenance is growing, the cost is growing higher on the maintenance, and the plumbing lines are not proper, or the road levels are not maintained. So they'll say, okay, how do we do it? But they don't have money. So they will try to gather together and say that, can we approach someone who can put some money into this and build a house? So it's a natural human process of financial, how they want to come out of that kind of situation.
Correct. So the concept of affordable luxury is gaining traction.
Affordable luxury, okay.
Affordable luxury, right. So as an architect, how do you make things work this way? See, if you want things to be luxury, you'll have to spend money, right? Affordable luxury is a little tricky section to address. So how do you solve this? This is a problem. I've spoken to a lot of people. They say affordable luxury is a little tricky because people want what they want. At the same time, they don't want to spend that much on it.
Yeah.
Right. So what are the things that you do personally to get there? Again, aesthetics is a big part of this, right?
Yeah.
More than functionality, people nowadays just want aesthetics, want to look good, even if it and waterproofing 50, 60 years ago was a very big thing. Like people build structures that are still there, that are still waterproof. Right now, even some builders build structures that 20 years, that lifetime is gone. right? Waterproofing is not done properly, and then you'll have to demolish the entire project again. You'll have to rebuild it. So, what is your take on this? Do you make it cheaper and look more expensive, or do you make it look okay and go for the quality? What is better?
The two different questions, I think. Affordable luxury is okay. So I think we should take this as two questions. I would say that affordable luxury, anything that's luxurious is not affordable. To make it affordable, you have to leave it to the scientists. So they all develop this fox leathers and foxes. People do fake things, which materials, which can be alternate materials, which can look like that, but it's not actually that. So, like, you use, let's say someone is using a diamond, it's a beautiful diamond, someone is wearing it. And someone's getting married and they want that kind of diamond. They can't afford it, but they want it to look like that. They just use a small crystal, which is probably made in a local market, which is a fake thing, and just wear it. The photographs might come beautiful, but it is not anywhere close to that. So I think that's an issue with their personality, actually. So people who want to start living fake, they want to now term it as fake, as affordable luxury. So I would say that people who are trying to tell themselves that, I want to look like this and want to be affordable, it just means that you have to cleanse in yourself and try to become more real and try to understand what your inner issues are, that you are trying to now live with fake things, which is fine for him or her. But if as an architect, I would say that you need to delve more deeper into your understanding of what materials are and whether they're really needed for you, and you work towards achieving it and achieve it. If you don't achieve it, you want to now fake people that I am living with that. It is more to do with their personality and an attitude issue or a character issue rather than something to do with. And I usually advise people and advise my clients, do not take that route, because there is no end to it. You will start using more of these artificial materials and dump it into your soul, and eventually you lose your personality, your own personal self of why you actually want to live. What is it that I want to show? Do I want to show some artificial things and tell them that I am rich? Or you want to just say that, no, I am this and I have worked towards this and I've achieved this and I'm working towards more to achieve more of this. So that is something that I usually, and also most of these fake things, when you talk about that becomes affordable, that also comes with a time period, something that does not last long. So that comes to your second question, that says that when you build your structures, do you work towards quality, or do you say that, okay, let's do this? No, I don't do that. I make sure that you minimize your SFT. You try to make sure that you know what your real self is and try to understand how much of SFT that you need, and make sure that whatever you build with quality. Because the moment any quality issue happens in a building which is not supposed to give you more, the building first of all is built so that it protects you from external elements. Now you are building something that will cause you issues on your through the external elements.
So quality in the long
so you should
run is
never
cheaper, right?
So the quality has to be taken care of without any compromise. So that, I think, is the luxury. So many people actually don't know this, but many luxurious houses or people, they spend more time in refining these detailing. So there are new modern contemporary houses that are built totally with concrete, so that there is no issues of repainting. There is no issue of weathering of it and leakages through the walls, or year to year you have to start making sure that there are cracks. So as you keep getting more towards luxury, quality becomes at most important priority than this thing. Likewise, like you see any of the contemporary, or as people built using glass structures and things like that, the detailing became more and more refined, There are no crevices. Like, again, I'll come back to the example of your phones or your watches. Why is it that people prefer a certain build or a make of a phone? Because it's built with a certain metal. There is no scratches on the glass. There are no crevices or holes through in which the dust will accumulate, whereas there are other cheaper quality which will have those things. So achieving that is what is the priority.
Wow, interesting. So now let's talk about the most trending topic, AI
Okay.
and architecture.
Okay.
Right. So as an architect, do you feel threatened by AI? Because I'll tell you why I'm asking you this.
Yeah, please.
I've seen a lot of videos online where AI is made to compete with architects. A team of architects compete with prompts that are given to AI. A lot of times, AI surpasses them in some aspects. AI is not there yet, obviously, to completely replace human architects.
Right.
But I feel that it's slowly getting there.
Mm.
And as time goes, eventually jobs will start getting lower and lower in whatever field we're talking about, right? But especially in architecture, this one video I've seen has blown my mind. So this one task was given to these three architects. They were on one team, and this AI was on one team. They were given 2 days to. So there's a slope, there's a hill, and on that slope you'll have to construct a structure that has a swimming pool that is facing opposite side, and
Okay.
the opposite side is a water body. So that is a task that is given to these architects, and minimal cost mein ho jana, and everything has to be optimized, right? These people took 3 days, and on the last day, AI was just given a prompt to give me the drawings, designs, and also give me reasons why this will work, and also mention where this might fail. So AI has done everything almost 70% better than these human architects.
Perfect.
Yeah. So do you think as an architect, uh, you should feel threatened, or do you have to see it in a good way and make AI your best friend so that you can finish your work faster or do greater work?
I think there's no running away from it. AI is there. So what if I feel threatened? So what if architects feel threatened? Or so what if single singers feel threatened? Today, I'll extend the topic so that it's easy for the audience to understand that in movies, we really don't need the actors anymore. You just need the face. So I just have to just scan my face. There's a company who's doing it, which is totally scanning my entire data and keeping it stored in a hard disk, and that now, on a click of a button, you can use that in any format. Like,
Right.
any movie that you take, you can become a lead actor of that particular movie right now, any one of us. So it's going to come. Would it threaten the actors or the singers? Because singer now today, anyone can sing, like any great singer that we have. You just have to give a prompt saying that, this is that. And designers, let's say, creating logos, creating everything has become AI now. We just have to give a prompt, and it will give you 100 other options. Thing. So I would say that there is no running away from that kind of situation, because we ourselves will be using it. Let's say I myself will use many of these things which will help me save time.
Have you
So
ever used AI to make your work better?
I think we are using AI from many ways. I mean, the AI decides us which video to watch, what do we have to do. Our editing right now is going through that kind of a thing, and even in probably design, through if the Google Analytics itself is an AI, right? So it is able to decide what is the thing that image that we want, that will actually define the kind of space that you're talking about. Let's say courtyard with a water body, and with a hill view, with a tree that is more towards the edge of it. Google will search an image exactly that you might be looking for, and the AI is actually helping. And it's now we're taking to the next further, where we will now start talking. This podcast will be having with an AI. So the AI, you can have a podcast. The AI is sitting here and telling. But having said that, I think our generation, or the generation to come, will be pretty much safer with this kind of a thing, because it takes long time for people to understand what they want. So most of the time people don't know what they want. So to give an AI a prompt, they have to know exactly what they would have to do. Now when they get that prompt, now they want an advice whether what they are seeing is right or not. So then they will do what? They'll go to a doctor, they'll go to an architect and say that AI is telling this, is it right or not? So that advice and that I think, if you go understand what a human actually wants, it's more to do with philosophy. So that philosophy aspect of it, when the AI is yet to figure out, I think the humans will still be on the top of this thing, because architecture in general is more to do with philosophy. Medical profession, like they say, AI can just, robotics has come, they'll do the knee operation, things like that. But there needs to be a doctor which will tell for each patient. The robotics cannot exactly do the same operation to every patient. They'll have to feed a certain thing into it. So then the doctor only knows what to feed.
Yeah.
Similarly, then architect only knows what to feed into that system and say that, this is a solution that we need. So I think when we're talking about understanding the human mind,
So once
still
we
the
get
humans.
there where AI, sorry to cut you off, once we get there where AI is smarter than humans, let's assume.
That I think, yeah.
What apart from being an architect, what would you like to be?
I would have AI as my best friend. I'll buy a nice AI mate and say that, I'll try to discuss and understand what needs to be done and understand it. I think that this generation is yet to figure out of what will happen with the AI, and how do we then understand the world that we're going to live in, because most of the things that we're doing right now is not needed. We don't need to do anything of this.
Right. Even
We
our
just have to-
education, for that matter.
Yeah.
Even our books that are printed, same syllabus has been. Even for
Yeah,
people
people
who
are
want
reading,
to study architecture.
To stop you there, maybe I was in US once, and one of my friends was studying school when Google Maps was not there. So when we're driving through those routes, it's extremely different, especially in the freeways of US, where you the exact turn. Otherwise, you are now going about few miles to take a turn. So I said, "How did you guys figure out?" He said, "We used to stop the car, and that's how the highway restaurants came into being. We used to stop our car at the highway restaurant. On the bonnet, we used to put our maps. So whichever city we used to go, there used to be books printed of the city, and the latest edition used to be updated every year. And they used to go through that map and say that, okay, we need to go here at particular mile. We need to take this turn, and they just note down on the notes. And there used to be people who used to just refer to the notes, and if you are new to that city, all that is not needed right now. We just have Google Maps, and that Google Maps says that people used to do that. It's just giving you a prompt through the voice, and tells you in whichever country you are, it gives you. And I remember when these Google Maps were done, there were multiple organizations and companies here in Hyderabad, in Srinagar colony and place like that, where small rooms like this used to be made into such offices, and people used to draft those plans. It was done manually.
Wow.
And today, all that is done through AI.
Right.
Are those people lost of jobs? I don't think so. There are new engineering, new methods that are devised now. I think there's new prompters, I think, are now
Prompt
the prompt
engineering
engineers
is
is now the new term that we get. That it's a lot of traction, and people are taking jobs in that.
So as someone who is just starting to learn architecture, what would your advice be to whether to stick to the textbooks and learn what are the basics, or make AI your best friend and then be an architect? Like how what is the process that you would suggest?
I think technically, if you have to expertise yourself, that is a never-ending process. You have to, all through the life. Today's is AI. There's going to be something else that's going to come. So because seeing how life has transformed from the time when we were kids to now, it's going to keep happening. And but as an architect, I always tell people to first unlearn. Try to just, whatever the society is telling you, try to unlearn and build an attitude and a personality to yourself that helps you understand the world better. If you do that, and that's the first and foremost thing that's an architect has to do. He has to understand the world better, the human better. Like I'm able to talk all this because not by reading something and things like that. We've developed a sense of reaching out to every client and try to reach out to every site in a certain way, and with every site we try to understand the issues and how what is the real issue that they're talking about. We're not trying to talk on the surface. Like that, an architect has to so that's the foremost thing that the architect has to learn, through unlearn, and try to understand what you need to learn in a proper way. Because there are people who are just around there just trying to fool around. So you just have to make sure that you're safeguarding you protect your learning, and then of course make sure that you are well versed with your technology. That doesn't happen just with architecture. I wouldn't advise this with doctors, right? Doctors have
Yeah.
to with doctors this is not the thing. They are not trying to unlearn, and they have to learn
Right.
because that's science, and just go from science to science then, and then try to understand how things are. But for a lawyer, they are trying to not unlearn, but they have to learn from the books. But architecture does not happen through books. It happens through proper understanding, and that's why. But when we come to learn things, that is technology or AI or whatever the next thing that's going to come, you have to be well versed with the next generation and try to say that how do we up my work stream, and see how do we connect the dots. But your base is intact. How you understand the problem, that is the only thing that will make an architect survive in this world.
Interesting. So, what would your advice be to the younger generation right now who are aspiring to be architects, especially people, students who are studying in Hyderabad?
I would say that that's the major thing that I think, not just architecture. I think get into architecture for the right reason. That's the first thing that I
Have the
only
passion for it.
advise.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't get into architecture because someone has said it to you, or something. Someone, you just want to earn more money, or things like that. There are many other ways to earn money. You can keep a kirana store and earn money. You can do podcast and earn money. You can do something else and earn money. Architecture is not just for that. So understand why you're getting into architecture. You should have the passion to always think about spaces and right spaces, and not to cheat people. Architecture is one profession where you should not cheat. I repeat this very strongly because in today's world, it's become okay to cheat people. You might do that in selling a small product or a small this thing, but architecture, you cheat their dreams. They dream about owning a house, about their lifelong earning to be something. If you don't understand that problem properly and just beat around the bush and try to cheat them, it's going to be seen. So these are two things that I think I would really try to reach out to every youngster out there and say that keep your calm, be humble, be sincere, and work your ass out to make sure that the person has the right spaces. Other than that, architecture, there's no other bigger advice than okay, make sure you complete your curriculum, and all this is bullshit. But if you do this,
Right.
you'll be doing a favor to generations about finding. There's one very interesting thing. I think it's a Netflix series, and that Santa Maria novella, when it was built, there's a history of Santa Maria. If you understand, the small kid asks his father that you've built this huge structure, and they would not be able to find a solution for the dome. So the entire city has this dome, which is of a certain diameter and a radius. Okay, and it's easily achievable. So Santa Maria Novelas, the person who envisioned it, he says he builds much bigger radius and much bigger diameter. So the kid is perplexed. He says, "Dad, why did you do this? Why did you build this like this? Because you know that it can't be built." He says, architecture is something that should make the next generation think. It's not just about making sure that the building is there. It should also tell you, it should also make the next generation think, now we build this, how do we move to the next level? How do we now create even more bigger opportunity? So he says someone out there will come sometime and he will find a solution for this. And Santa Maria Novella was built eventually.
Hmm.
The solution was never there.
Hmm.
And if you ask that time, it would be foolish that someone thought that such a big dome would be built. But someone out there who came out, an architect, and who came out and said that, and that the kid was the one who sponsored it.
Oh.
So he became big, and he tried to say that, we should find a solution for this. So they took hundreds of years to find the solution, but eventually it was found. So this is what I'm saying. So the architecture is not just about earning money or to find something. It's about even more bigger value that you would add for the generation.
Passion and the attitude of
Yes,
never settle.
yes.
Wow, that's great. To sum this podcast up, I would like to know what you think of, let's talk 10 years from now, and architectural trends in Hyderabad. What do you think are rising, and what are the trends that you think will vanish?
Will phase out.
Yeah.
I think more and more simplified buildings will come. Most of the people who do not understand that material needs to be more simpler, all these things that we do as a sudden fashion thing of exposed brickwork or lot of lines in them and things like that, these will slowly start fading out. People will prefer more and more cleaner, simpler buildings which are easy to operate. I think COVID actually should have taught a lot more to us. Still people are unable. That's why I'm saying this is a clash of people not able to learn or know. So they again get back to, so issues are cropping up about same things about people using materials which need more maintenance. Those will fade out, and new age materials, new age building technology will be the way out, way forward. And yeah, I think that will be something that people will, and I think people will use lesser material is what I'm thinking. Today there is a madness in using every material that's available in the market. That's problem with Instagram, like Instagram reels or something. People see some reels, people see something, and then they're like, oh, we want this, we want this, we want this. Again, there's a confusion. But over a period of time, we won't check Facebook so often as how we used to check earlier, right? Similarly, people will then phase out. They'll say that, why are we using so many materials? Like, why do you have to? We don't have to. Like, so it's that I think will come up, and newer materials will come, and people use less of materials, minimize materials. So minimalism will be the way forward.
Wonderful. All right. So thank you for these great insights.
My pleasure.
We would love to have you again. Let's have a Kamal Kamaraju 2.0 probably sometime in the future. But it was wonderful having you today.
Thank you. Had a
And
great pleasure.
your insights, we named our podcast the Insights Podcast.
Wow. Okay.
So I think it'll be helpful for people watching out there, especially people from Hyderabad. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting.
If you want to see more educational and informational content like this, do follow Giridhari Homes on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. We'll keep coming back with better content every time. And we really hope that our struggle to make these episodes better for you will help you in making better informed decisions while purchasing your home and also educating you. This is Sharan signing off. See you next time.